अभी तो करते रिकॉर्डिंग बंद
बंद करना, वो कर दीजिए।
ठीक है ना। हाँ मैं
यहाँ सो हो जाएगी।
यस
आप कभी थे? कभी थे? ठीक है, अगर के दो यूनिट व्हाट्सएप पर नहीं कर रहा हूं तो आप मुझे अच्छे से ध्यान रखेंगे, बता दीजिएगा मेरे को। ये लिस्ट आप अपने पास रखिए। ठीक, तो बहुत कैजुअली ले रहा है ना, मैं उनका हिसाब किताब बढ़िया से करूंगा।
Good morning, everyone. A warm welcome to our guest. He is the esteemed speaker for today, Dr. Mohammed Nazim sir, Mr. Rafiq sir, and Dr. Maya ma'am. A warm welcome to the second day of our workshop on modern trends in research methodology. I trust that the stimulating discussions and insights from yesterday have left you eager for more as we continue our exploration of the evolving landscape of research methodologies. Today marks a particularly exciting phase of our workshop as we shift our focus to the crucial domain of academic writing, a skill that is not only the backbone of scholarly communication, but also a powerful catalyst for the impact of our research. As we gather here, we recognize that ability to articulate our research findings effectively is as important as the research itself. Writing is a bridge that connects our ideas to the broader academic community and beyond. So today's session is designed to enhance our proficiency in academic writing and empower us to maximize the impact of our scholarly work. Today, we are fortunate to have distinguished expert Dr. Mohammed Nazim, an esteemed associate professor from Department of Library and Information Sciences, Aligarh Muslim University, Aligarh. In the field of academic writing, he will guide us through strategies to craft clear, compelling, and influential research narratives. He will share insights into navigating the intricacies of peer-reviewed publications, addressing the challenges of conveying complex research ideas, and maximizing the visibility of our research work in an ever-evolving academic landscape. So now I request Ms. Ankita to introduce Dr. Nazim to the gathering. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker today. Dr. Mohammed Nazim earned his PhD in Library and Information Science from Banaras Hindu University and holds a master's degree in the same discipline from AMU. Prior to joining AMU, he dedicated nearly a decade and a half to BHU, where he served as an assistant librarian. His illustrious career boasts more than 72 publications, encompassing research articles in prestigious journals such as Emerald Insights, Taylor and Francis, and Elsevier Science, along with a seminal book on knowledge management in libraries published by Chandler's Publishing and imprint of Elsevier, USA. Notably, Dr. Mohammed Nazim has guided 26 master's dissertations and 3 PhD. His impactful contributions extend to successfully completing 2 research projects funded by the Indian Council of Social Science. In the academic community, Dr. Nazim currently serves as an associate editor of Library Waves, and is a member of the editorial board of perpetence.org. He also lends his expertise as a reviewer for reputable journals such as Chambers Publishing, BMC Research Notes, Decidog Journal of Biology, and Scienceometrics. Beyond his scholarly pursuits, Dr. Nazim served as a managing director for the Journal of Indian Library Association from 2016 to 2019. His global impact is evident as he was invited as a speaker at the IFLA Knowledge Management Satellite Conference held at Xiamen University, Kuala Lumpur in 2018. Join us for this workshop where Dr. Nazim will delve into his research interests, including knowledge organization and information retrieval, biometric. Without further ado, I invite Dr. Nazim to the podium to share his valuable knowledge with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Maya, the coordinator of the workshop, Mr. Rafiq Ahmed, the director of the workshop, distinguished guest and participant, good morning. So the topic is, I think it's very broad, which is given to me, and this is itself is a workshop theme. So when I was preparing for this topic, so I realized that there are many subtopics of this topic. So just covering all the aspects, all the facets of this topic is difficult. So just I prepared the outline of the outline of the lecture. So I will try to cover the topics, that is academic writing, and because in the process of academic writing, there are many steps involved. So I will try to cover one of the component, that is the research process, which is important, I think. That is why I have included this. And research publication skills. And the last, that is increasing research visibility and impact, because the visibility and impacts are interrelated. Something which is visible has the more chance to be cited, and the impact is basically depends on the citation. But today we have different other metrics which also considered as the factors for that is called impact of the research. So there may be a separate topic like on the academic writing, as mentioned at the beginning. That is how to write, what are the important steps that to be considered, like what is the structure of the academic writing, how we can construct the whole draft, and how can we divide that is into different parts, like paragraphs, like sentences. So I think this is important, but I will try to avoid it, the discussion about it. Okay, but I will try to focus on the research skills that may be relevant. And as I informed that most of the participants are belonging to the law discipline. So because the research in different disciplines is different, okay, slightly different. The process may be same, but the way of conducting research may be different. So I will try to incorporate the requirements of different kinds of disciplines in the discussion. And this is nothing that this is my own experience in my own field. So I will try to share my own experience with you, because you may be experts in your own subjects. So this is not a teaching. This is just interaction and the sharing of experiences with each other. Okay. So academic writing is also known as scholarly publishing or scholarly writing, which should be objective and evidence-based. That is two important things that to be considered. That is
objectivity and the evidence-based, because other kinds of writing not include this objectivity and evidences. Okay, that is why the difference in other writing and academic writing is that is objectivity and the evidence-based. So जो भी हम बोले या जो भी हम लिखें, that should be supported by some evidence. Okay, and there should be a convention of academic writing that it include. There should be a content, structure, and style. A particular pattern of the structure and the styles of writing should be followed. And in different subjects, there will be different kinds of structure and styles of writing. And sometimes some of the journals may provide the guidelines for preparing the draft of the academic writing. Okay, so there should be a particular structure and the way of writing contents and the styles that to be followed. And the something which is included in this academic writing is journal article, reports, books, chapters, and editorial volumes. So they are considered as scholarly communication or scholarly publishing. And they are also included as or considered as the academic writing. So there are some categories of academic writing. I am not going into the detail of the explanation of each. That is essay, research paper, thesis, and dissertation, which is the dissertation is part of the degree as well as this thesis is also the part of degree. That is, you need to submit before getting the degree of whether it is master degree or it is the PhD degree. And sometimes you need to submit the research proposal for getting funds from the funding organization and funding bodies. And sometimes the nature of the academic writing is the review. Just you want to know something, just you want to know the trends of in a particular area, particular subjects. Then this review is important, because what is happening in a particular discipline, you just try to collect the literature on that subject and then try to review, and then you will find that the trend in this particular area is like this. And sometimes in the field of science and technology, that is lab report. So there may be some of the examples of the academic writing. Now, there is a process of academic writing which starts from an idea that should be generated, that should be find out. Then we need to conduct the research on that idea. The idea may be converted in the form of topic. Then we need to prepare the outline and the structure, preparing the first draft. Then peer review process and feedback. Sometimes we share our draft with our colleagues, get input from them, and try to modify our draft by revising, editing, and making a final draft. So this is the process of academic writing, which starts from the idea. Idea is important, and through the idea, you can formulate a topic of your academic writing. And if you have formulated the topic, then you will start doing research. And this research may be of different nature, different kinds, sometimes historical, and sometimes experimental, depending upon the nature of the topic or nature of the discipline. And after conducting the research, then you will start preparing the draft and the structure and the outline. And finally, after getting the input from different people, you will prepare the final draft for submission. And the submission may be, if you are you wish to publish your research in the journals, then you need to prepare your draft as per the guidelines of the journals. Otherwise, if you are preparing your draft for the submission of dissertation and thesis in the university, then the structure of that draft may be different. So now come to the research process, because I think within 1 hour and 1.5 hours, so all the things of all the features and the component of the academic writing cannot be considered. So I feel that this is important. This may be important for you. So I come to the research part. Okay. So this research process is divided into 3 phases. That is phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And this is the first phase is choosing and defining. Within this, that you need to choose the topic. You need to define the research problem, because the research cannot be possible until there is a problem. And that problem need to be defined clearly. Then what is the objective of your research? You need to formulate, in some cases, the hypothesis. And then you need to follow certain methods for suppose you want to collect data, if your research is based on data. Data may be secondary and primary. So you need to follow a standard procedure that is called method for conducting the researches. So this is the first phase. And the second phase started with the collection of data. Then you need to follow some strategies for analyzing research data. And you need to do the interpretation. And then you need to apply certain statistical tests to test your hypothesis that you have formulated at the beginning. And on the basis of the testing of the hypothesis, you need to draw certain conclusions. But it is not necessary you will follow, or all the disciplines follow the same process. In some cases, there may be no hypothesis. In some cases, there may be research question in place of hypothesis. So the structure of research may be different in different kinds of situations. And the last phase is related to the writing. That is communicating. And this process is you need to communicate. And this communication may be in scholarly publishing that we have discussed. There are different components of the academic writing, like thesis, like research article, the conference proceedings. Okay. So there may be different kinds of channels of communication. So this is a research publishing channels, and you can finally write the paper. Okay. So this is the process of the research. That is not a standard process. Some of the components of this process may be different. For example, in some cases, as I mentioned, there may be a hypothesis and there may not be a hypothesis in your research. Okay. So now we come to the research publication process, research publication skills. What are the skills which are required for getting our research published? Okay. So this is the outline, or this is the procedure of research publication, which start from developing a plan for publication. Then the second important thing is that we need to write a background of our research paper. And within the background, 3 important things need to be included. That is defining research problem, formulating research questions or a hypothesis, and identifying the study variables. Then the important thing which start before writing background basically. लेकिन मैंने इसको बाद में रखा है क्योंकि research depends on the previous studies, the review of literature, because we need to identify the gap of research in a particular field. So this literature review should come at the beginning, so that we can identify what has already been done in a particular field and what has not been done. On the basis of that, you can find a line of research gap, and your research may fill this research gap. Okay, so writing literature review is important because you need to find the gap. If already something happened or conducted, a research is conducted in a field on a topic, then what is the value of your research? So first you need to find the gap in a particular area. Then you need to use a research design, follow a research design. Then research design there are different steps of collecting data and analyzing data, testing hypothesis. And finally, you need to write, that is called report writing. Then one of the important component of the writing or publication is referencing. And you are the students of law, most of the students, and you know the importance of citation. without citing a case of High Court or Supreme Court or any other court, you cannot justify something. Okay. So that is, you need to cite the cases. Okay, to make your research evidence based. Okay, जैसे हमने शुरू में ही बोला था. ठीक है, तो that is citation is important and referencing is important. What are the sources you have consulted in your research? How you can cite these sources? This process is important to know. Okay, there are different styles of citation that we need to understand as a researcher. Then choosing the right journals for publication. This is also important. Most of the time we do not know which is the most suitable journal for our research to be published. So how we can choose a right journal for the research which we have conducted. Then preparing a draft according to the journal guidelines. Because you have just prepared the draft, but this draft needs to be changed as per the guidelines. So most of the journals provide the guidelines for preparing a draft for the submission for publication. So you need to read the guidelines of the journals in which you want to submit your paper for publication. Then you need to navigate the peer review process. After submission, you need to wait for some times to get the comments from the reviewer. And if the comments are received, then how you can respond to the reviewer's comment, because this is also important. So developing a plan for publications, and when you are at this particular stage at the beginning, you need to ask the following question before writing. Okay, what is the aim of or objective of your publication? This is important. Why you want to write something? That is the objective, and the aim should be clear. What do you hope to achieve at the end? And who is the target audience for this research publication? Who are the beneficiaries? Okay, this is important because if you are writing something and you are not very much clear about who will use this writing, this will not be effective. Okay, and what is the correct channel to research to reach your audience? कौन सा channel ऐसा हो सकता है? There may be different channels. Okay. Suppose I want to present my research here, so the channel is the conference and the workshop. Suppose I want to reach to those people who are not here. The channel may be different. So sometimes we need to present something in the conferences and workshops. Sometimes we need to publish in a paper and the journals. So it may be reached to others all over the world. Okay, for those who are not attending this conference also. So that is also important. So the next thing is to write the background of research paper. And writing background is one of the difficult tasks. Because at the beginning, you are just try to describe all the important aspects of your research in a very precise manner. And writing background is very important. क्योंकि लिफाफा देख के ही मजमून का पता चल जाता है. You know very well about it. Sometimes abstract is also one of the component of the research publication, which tells you about the paper. But background is also important. So what is the function of this background? That is, it establishes the context underlying the research. In which context you are conducting research. It also provides the detailed understanding of the topic, content, rationale, and problem statement. This problem statement is important. I will discuss in detail. And a brief overview of research questions, hypotheses that are addressed in the rest of the paper. Introduces an unaware audience to the research and its importance in clear and logical manner. So these are the points that to be highlighted in the background. Background sometimes is called introduction. कभी-कभी हम ज्यादातर हम किस नाम से जानते हैं इस particular sections जो publication का है, introductions. So don't confuse, introduction and background is similar. Some people use the term background of the study, particularly in the research, in the thesis and the dissertation, researcher use the term background. And in the articles, research articles published in the journal, the term introduction is used. So don't confuse about it. Background and introductions are similar terms, okay, but they are used in different contexts. Introduction is used in the context of research paper, conference paper, and background is used in the context of the thesis and the dissertation. How to write the background of a research? This is also important. So start with a strong beginning. Okay, शुरुआत अच्छी धमाकेदार होनी चाहिए, ठीक है? And being the background by defining the research topic and then identify the target audience, cover key components of the topic. That is the theories that you want to cover or experiment, concept, terms and ideas. Take note of important prerequisites, क्या-क्या जरूरी है. Explain novelty of your research, and this novelty can be explained when you do the review of the previous studies. That is, several studies has been conducted to examine this, but no study has been conducted to examine this. And this research will try to fill this gap. The three sentences are important to show the novelty of your research. Many researches have been conducted in this area, but no research has been conducted to examine this. What we are going to conduct, that is, you are showing the importance as well as you are showing the gap of research. So this statement is very important, that to be included in the background of your study or your publication. And then you need to increase the engagement, that is coherence in the paragraphs. जैसे एक पैराग्राफ खत्म हुआ तो फौरन उसके बाद दूसरे का रिलेशनशिप उससे जरूरी होनी चाहिए, ठीक है? So that you can engage your audience. So this types of paragraphing should be designed in the background of the research problem. Now come to the defining research problem. Why you are conducting a research? Why you are doing the research? This is important that you need to define. And the problem and cause of the problem. Problem hai to kyun hai? State outcomes of previous research on the problem that we have already mentioned. Okay. State clearly what you are planning for the proposed research. Form careful research questions and hypotheses. Identify variables. Variables needed to achieve the objectives. And there should be a scale for measurement. Okay, sometimes we need to use the scale, Likert scale, if you are aware about it. Okay. And feasibility of study objectives. Okay. Something which is not measurable or measurable, that you need to understand. And target publication and eligibility criteria. So this, I think, problem statement and goal. And try to read this very carefully because it takes some time for reading. But each line is important. And through reading these two paragraphs, you will be able to understand how to write a research problem. मुझे पढ़ना है या you can read yourself? नहीं. So मैं पढ़ दे रहा हूँ. No individual, because it is in the context of librarianship. So maybe this is not valid to you. तो मैं इसको next वाली अगर show कर दूँ तो थोड़ा सा हो सकता है relevant to you, all the people, okay, all the participants. The first paragraph, this study examines the wide range of faculty members' self-archiving behavior, which resides in the blood area between informal and formal scholarly communication. This is called the broader goal or broader objective, which is defined in one sentence. क्या purpose है इस study का? This is defined only in one sentence. Then this is the second paragraph started with the outcome of the review of literature. That is finding of the review of literature. Several empirical studies examine academics, authors' self-archiving behavior quantitatively. पहले तो उन्होंने बता दिया बहुत सी स्टडी हो चुकी हैं, ऐसा नहीं है ये हमारी पहली स्टडी है. Many studies have been conducted on this particular aspect, but the aspect was quantitative. ठीक है, उसमें किसने की उनका इन्होंने साइटेशन दे दिया. However, faculty members' motivation for depositing their material on publicly accessible websites and how they make such decisions as what versions of material to be deposited and where to place these material are not known. तो स्टडी तो बहुत हो चुकी है, उन्होंने एविडेंस भी दिए कि ये स्टडी हो चुकी है, but the particular approach which is followed in the previous research is basically quantitative, but the aspects which are not covered are related to the motivation. Okay, कहाँ वो प्लेस करते हैं, कहाँ अपलोड करते हैं अपनी रिसर्च को. That is the word self-archiving need to be defined here. Maybe most of you are not aware about it. Suppose you have published or written something related to your research. This is maybe in printed format, printed journal. Okay. Suppose you presented a paper in the conference, maybe published in the proceeding of the conference. So the visibility is limited. If you can post this draft of your writing in public domain, upload somewhere in the on different platforms like ResearchGate, Academia, okay, or other institutional repositories. So it may be available to the public. That is called open access, free availability of publication. So this is the uploading of research in different platforms, on different platforms, making it publicly available is called self-archive. तो सेल्फ आर्काइविंग हम क्यों करें, हम अपनी चीज को क्यों दिखाएं दुनिया को, क्या हमें इससे फायदा होता है, क्या मोटिवेशन मिलता है, और कहाँ पे हम इसको पोस्ट करें, तो ये सारी चीजें अभी तक नहीं हुई हैं. ठीक है, तो इट मींस व्हाट हैपेंड, व्हाट हैज ऑलरेडी बीन कंडक्टेड, दैट इज द फर्स्ट सेंटेंस इन द सेकंड पैराग्राफ, एंड व्हाट हैज नॉट बीन डन, दैट इज द सेकंड पैराग्राफ, and the third paragraph start with the examining motivational factors that influence the decision to self-archive will contribute to the study of literature regarding the transforming of scholarly communication, as well as to a better understanding of the practices of disciplinary and institutional repositories. The last sentence is related to the importance of your research which you are going to conduct. So total 4 paragraphs, 4 sentences in this problem statements and goal. ठीक है, बहुत ज्यादा पैराग्राफ की जरूरत नहीं है, because your audience are well informed. In the well informed means they are more knowledgeable, they know the subject, so no need of just defining what is this, what is that, what is that. Okay, in the problem statements you can assume that they are well informed, they know everything, come to the points. The point is that the statements that is related to the objective, then what happened, what's left, क्या हो चुका है, क्या नहीं हुआ है, और हमारे ये करने से जो नहीं हुआ है उसका क्या फायदा है. बस ये 3-4 चीजें आपको इंक्लूड करनी है. दैट इज कॉल्ड द research problem, defining research problem. Sometimes we say problem statement. That is one of the important component of research publication. Maybe it is a research article, or maybe it is a dissertation and thesis. Okay, this paragraph I have taken from the thesis that is for the award of PhD degree. So you can understand that is this important paragraph included in the thesis. Okay, so the next thing is that is to formulate the research question, and the research question can be formulated on the basis of this research problem. अब सारी की सारी research 4 पैराग्राफ के ऊपर घूमेगी आपकी. What are the existing ways that faculty members make research material publicly accessible on the internet? वही चीजें आपकी आएंगी, उसी से research questions बनेंगे. Why do they use certain forums for self-archiving? What motivates faculty members' self-archiving behavior? What makes them reluctant to self-archive their research material? तो जो लास्ट वाले 2 हैं, वो क्यों नहीं करना चाहते अपनी रिसर्च को पब्लिक, और वो क्यों करना चाहते. तो 2 चीजें. और शुरू में वो शुरू के 2 क्वेश्चंस हैं, उसमें कौन सा वो फोरम, कौन सा वो प्लेटफॉर्म यूज करते हैं, और पहला वाला क्या है कि कौन कौन से जो तरीके हैं, तो कौन कौन से रास्ते हैं, कौन कौन से ऐसे प्लेटफॉर्म है जिसके थ्रू हमारी रिसर्च को पब्लिकली अवेलेबल किया जा सकता है. सो नॉट many questions, only 4 research questions, and these 4 questions are not taken from the research paper. These 4 questions are from the thesis. Sometimes we think that अब हमारी thesis में सिर्फ 4 questions होंगे research के, तो ऐसा नहीं होता है. 10 से भी कोई फायदा नहीं है. Try to do the pinpointed research. What is important that need to be included. Otherwise, unnecessary things not necessary to be included in the research. Okay. Now come to the hypothesis. How we'll formulate the hypothesis. And these hypotheses are also formulated on the same problem that we have discussed. Okay. Now, what are the different factors which motivate or demotivate authors to self-archive? मैं अपनी रिसर्च को पब्लिक करूं या ना करूं, ये इस डिसीजन के लिए कौन कौन सी चीजें जिम्मेदार हैं, कौन कौन से फैक्टर उसको कंट्रीब्यूट करते हैं. ओके. तो कॉपीराइट कंसर्न्स, अरे मैंने कहीं ऐसा किया, इसको कर दिया, तो कहीं कॉपीराइट का कोई इश्यू ना आ जाए. ठीक है. अगर मैंने मुझे ऐसा करूंगा तो मुझे बहुत टाइम लगेगा, अपलोड करूंगा, ये करूंगा, वो करूंगा, एडिशनल टाइम एंड एफर्ट्स लगेगा. एक्सेसिबिलिटी की भी प्रॉब्लम होगी, सब लोग मेरी रिसर्च देखेंगे, उसमें कोई कमियां निकालेंगे, डरते हैं लोग कभी कभी. एकेडमिक रिवार्ड, हो सकता है कि ऐसा करने से मुझे कोई फायदा मिले. एकेडमिक मेरे क्योंकि इन अदर कंट्रीज दिस इज लिंक्ड टू द एकेडमिक रिवार्ड. Okay, those who are making their research publicly available, they are giving reward in terms of they are considered something for promotion. Faculty का जो promotion होता है, उसमें one of the criteria is that are you making the research publicly available? So that is academic reward. Professional recognition, because you will be recognized in your subjects, in your field, if your research will be visible to all over the world. And then self-archiving culture. Sometimes the culture is one of the important barriers to do something. अरे कोई नहीं कर रहा है, मैं क्यों करूं? Okay, if there is a culture of doing this, so everybody is doing the same task. So the culture is very important thing. So the author of this research want to know whether these factors contribute something to the decision to self-archive. Okay, so from these 2 points, one is highlighted by red color, another is blue color. So there should be some kind of correlation between 2 aspects. On the one side, there are the different aspects which are different, but on the other sides, only one aspect. So you can understand that there are variables, which is called study variables. So there are 2 types of variables. I hope you know, independent and dependent. So you can understand what are the dependent variables and what are the independent variables. So dependent variable is only one, that is decision to self-archive. And independent variables are copyright concerns, additional time, वगैरह वगैरह. So a variable is a characteristic or condition that can change or take on different values. Just we can take example because it takes much time. That is examples: age, gender, level of education, experience, attitudes, behavior. So they are all variables, study variables. Suppose our hypothesis is that is male are taller than female. This is our hypothesis. What we can do? We can collect data from both the categories of respondents, and then we will try to test whether it is our assumption is true or false. Okay, so there are 2 variables. Okay, male and female independent, and the height is dependent variables. So you can understand about it. So the response outcome variables measure the outcome of the study example. For example, use the, ये तो दूसरा पॉइंट है, तो इसको हमने प्रॉब्लम को डिस्कस नहीं किया था, हम एक ही प्रॉब्लम को डिस्कस कर रहे हैं, तो उसके कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हम कर. तो डिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल क्या होता है? व्हाट इज डिपेंडेंट वेरिएबल? the variable that depends on other factors. So self-archiving depends on different factors. Okay. Copyright concern, additional time, recognition, promotion. So dependent किस पे है वो इन सारी चीजों पे dependent. So that is called dependent variables. Example is self-archiving practice, a decision to self-archive. And independent variables, that is unaffected. Or in our example, copyright concerns, academic reward, organizational culture, and attitudes are independent variables. And dependent variable is dependent on independent variables. So you can see this, this is visible to you. On the one side, there are factors like cost, interesting factors, and contextual factors. And there are different kinds of variables. Independent variables are copyright concern, additional time, accessibility, publicity, academic reward, professional recognition, and self-archive. And on the in the other column, there are different hypotheses. Okay. Author's copyright concerns negatively related with the decision to self-archive. So this is null hypothesis. There may be two kinds of hypothesis, null and any response from the respondents, participant? Null and alternate. Okay. So this is null hypothesis. Okay. Negatively related with the decision to self-archive. So I think there is no need of discussing about the types of hypothesis. Hypothesis means there is a relationship between two variables, independent and dependent. Okay. So when you are trying to establish some kind of relationship, then it is hypothesis. Okay. जैसे मैंने कहा, men are taller than women. So this is basically a kinds of comparison. Comparison भी हो सकता है. Sometimes there should be a correlation. For example, the research which is in open access domain is more cited. ठीक है, जो चीज पब्लिक डोमेन में है, जो रिसर्च पब्लिक डोमेन में है, वो ज्यादा लोग यूज करते हैं, ज्यादा लोग उसको साइट करते हैं. ये मेरा अजम्पशन है. मैं क्या करूंगा, मेरे पास एक आइडिया आया, अब मैंने ये बोला तो जरूरत ही नहीं है सही होगा. What I will do, I will try to collect data. Suppose I selected some papers which are in open access domain and some paper which are not in open access domain. And I will collect the citation, number of citation of both the categories of publication, and will try to calculate the mean of both the categories. If the mean value of open access publications is higher than those publications which are not open access, then my hypothesis is correct. Is it not? So open access is independent variable. Openness is independent variables. And citation is dependent variable, because citation depends on different factors. One of them is openness. So I hope you are able to understand. You still not, so you अब बता दीजिए ताकि मैं आगे बढ़ जाऊं और ज़्यादा कुछ इसमें का discussion की जरूरत. So this is clear to you that what is the meaning of hypothesis and how you can correlate between two variables or among different variables. Okay. Now the next component is writing the literature review. And this is very important because research is possible only when you collect the related literature to the topic from different sources. Carefully read, note down some important things, and try to write a review report, which is not easy sometimes. And there is a traditional pattern of reviewing individual study and writing their review. But today, because much literature is available, so writing one by one, the review of each paper is taking much space. So what we need to do the review of all the studies, try to group into different themes. That is called thematic review. So this is the trend is changing. Okay. So a literature review is an objective, concise, critical summary. There should be a critical points also in the, ठीक है, कुछ उसमें कमी है वो भी highlight करनी है previous research में. That is also important component. So review may be of critical nature. Why write a review in a research publication? To provide a comprehensive foundation on a topic. And we have already seen in the research problem. The research problem started with the review of literature. Many empirical studies have examined it. तो हमारा तो foundation ही उसी पे है. That is to provide a comprehensive foundation on a topic, to explain the current state of knowledge, what is happening in a particular area that can be possible when you review a comprehensive literature in a particular subject. Then identify the gap existing studies for potential future research. And we have already seen in the problem of research, the last paragraph or the second paragraph is like related to this, highlighting the gap of research in a particular area and highlight the main methodologies and research techniques. क्या methodologies or techniques पुरानी studies में use हुई हैं, that can also be highlighted if you are doing a comprehensive review of literature. So there are many tips for writing good review literature. Not necessary to just explain every point because of the limitation of time. So strike a balance between sources supporting, opposing a particular aspect. What types of things need to be included in the review? Okay, whatever your idea, some of the studies may support that idea and some of the studies may not. So you need to collect both the things. जो अच्छी चीज लग रही है वही रखनी है, जो खराब लग रही है उसको निकाल देना, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. You should be very objective about the selection of the articles which you are going to include. Enough information required on the subject. Eliminate irrelevant information. Sometimes there may be the publications which are maybe of the low quality. Publications published in the journals which are not recognized journals in a subject. Okay. And address clearly research questions that we have already discussed in detail. Identify studies and more models that support your topic. Define key terms which are used in your subject, terminology and definitions, and build a strong foundation for your research topic. So choose a topic, define your research question and objective. This is the starting point when you are doing the literature review. Then research questions should be manageable, that we have discussed, not many. Limited questions should be there in the research. आप सब कुछ नहीं कर सकते, आप कुछ औरों के लिए भी छोड़ दीजिए. To try to take a very specific area of research so that you can focus on that. Sometimes we take a very broad topic and we are not in a position to do everything on that topic. So manageable topic should be there, and try to formulate limited number of research questions on a hypothesis so that you can justify. Begin writing down terms that are related to your questions. Whatever the questions you have selected, research questions, try to note down certain terms because these terms are important for searching literature. Decide on the scope of your review. How many studies do you need to look at? How comprehensive should it be? How many years should it cover? Sometimes you need to specify the period of studies which you need to cover. Okay. Select the source databases. Sources and databases you will use to conduct your searches. Okay. So कौन सा database लेंगे आप? Suppose you are the students of law, you know very well Manu Patra. नहीं सुना है ना आपने? और कौन सा है? For legal studies, SCC online. One more, which is cover the international aspects of legal research. Westla क्या मुझे याद नहीं आ रहा है इसका नाम, भूल गया मैं कुछ. Yes, that is very important. Containing the scholarly articles. So you must know what are the important sources in your field, where from we can collect the relevant literature related to the topic. Okay, if a student belonging to the library science, he or she must know what are the relevant sources from where they can collect the information. In the field of medical sciences, the sources may be different, like Midline, okay, National Library of Medicine databases. Okay, so in every field, there are different kinds of sources from where the relevant literature can be collected. And the researchers must be aware about it, okay? Collect all the scholarly information on the topic that might be pertinent to your study. But most of the time, what we do, we are completely relied on Google Baba. Whatever the Google provided us, we are satisfied with that. Google is not a basically database of scholarly literature. It is a search engine, but the specified search engines of Google is Google Scholar, where you may find some of the relevant literature from different websites. But we need to cover the scholarly databases in your subject, in our subject. Read the selected articles thoroughly and evaluate them. Spend a good amount of time on reading before writing a review, if we have the time, because most of the time we do not have the time for reading the research of others. And identify the relationship in the literature and develop and contact your own ideas to them. So evaluate and synthesize the studies, finding and conclusion, and note the following. ये इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें नोट कर लेनी चाहिए जब हम सारी स्टडीज को कलेक्ट करें, उसको हम स्क्रूटनी करें. बहुत सी स्टडीज हो सकती हैं, सारी तो आप इंक्लूड नहीं कर सकते हैं. तो रिलेवेंट स्टडीज नीड टू बी स्क्रूटनाइज्ड. Then we need to read. Then during the process of reading, we need to note down. We need some point that to be noted. That is assumptions some or most researchers seem to make. Methodologies, the testing procedure, subject material tested. Expert in the field names, labs that are frequently referenced. Conflicting theories, results, methodologies, and popularity of theories and how this has not changed over time. So these things need to be noted down, because in the discussion section, after the results or findings, we need to correlate our findings with the earlier studies. Sometimes your finding may be similar. Sometimes your findings may be contradictory to the findings of other researchers. So if you are not noting down these points, this becomes very difficult at the end of the writing your conclusion and your discussion section. Then papers by looking for patterns and by developing subtopics, note the following findings that are common or contested. That is, I just mentioned earlier. Important trend in research, the most influential theories, and develop headings, subheading that reflect the major themes and patterns you detected. So as I mentioned that today, the review of individual research is not necessary to write. If sufficient literature is available in your area, then you need to convert into the theme. Okay, so thematic review is important. For that, you need to note down the findings. I try to find out the headings and subheadings of your review. Okay. अब आपने क्या किया, कभी पहले हम क्या करते थे, क्रोनोलॉजिकल रिव्यू करते थे. ठीक है, क्रोनोलॉजिकल कर दिया, but that is not relevant for the readers. The relevant means that you need to group different studies into themes and sub-themes. Okay. Describe and summarize each article, provide the essential information of the article that pertain to your study, and then you can organize your review in 3 different ways. That is chronological, that is conventional method, the thematic, and methodologicals. Depending upon the methodologies used by the studies, you can arrange your reviews. Develop a gap of research statement that we have discussed. Write a 1 or 2 sentences statement summarizing the conclusion you have reached out, the major trends and development you see in the research that has been conducted on your subject. So this is all about the methods of writing review literature. Now this is the next step is research design, which is one of the important components of the research publication and research process. And this research design is a strategy for answering your research questions using empirical data. जो भी हमने hypothesis formulate किए हैं, जो भी हमने research questions formulate किए हैं, उसका जवाब answers questions का हम कैसे देंगे. by testing, by empirical evidences, by analyzing data which we have, by collecting data, relevant data. So a well-planned research design help ensure that your methods match your research objectives and that you use the right kinds of analysis for your data. So creating a research design means making decisions about the many aspects, your overall research objective and approach, whether you will rely on primary or secondary data, depending upon the research, your sampling methods, criteria for selecting subject, your data collection methods, the procedure you will follow to collect data, your data analysis strategies or methods. So these are the things that you need to decide after collecting, after defining your research problems, after reviewing your literature. The next step is you need to test the hypothesis and you need to give the answer to the question which you have raised in your research. And this is possible only by collecting data from the different populations. And how we select the population. So sampling is important because everything cannot be selected due to the time limitation and the financial crisis and many other factors. Okay. So there may be different types of research design, qualitative and quantitative. So I'm not going into the detail because many things which will left if I will just try to explain in details. Important point I will try to highlight. Okay. So what is the difference between qualitative research and quantitative research? So qualitative approach is used to understand subjective experience, belief, and concepts. Okay, sometimes the data in number is not useful. Okay, I want to know something, then I need to engage with other respondents, ask question personally, because उसके अंदर से सारी चीजें आप सिर्फ नंबर से नहीं निकलवा सकते हैं. आपने क्वेश्चन डिस्ट्रीब्यूट किया, मोस्ट ऑफ द थिंग्स नॉट एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड, उसको पता ही नहीं है ये पूछा क्या जा रहा है, वो तो बस टिक लगा रहा है. बट अगर आपको सब्जेक्टिव ऐसी चीजें चाहिए तो फिर आपको तो फिर इंटरेक्ट करना पड़ेगा. तो यू नीड टू कलेक्ट द क्वालिटेटिव डेटा, एंड दिस क्वालिटेटिव डेटा इज नॉट इन द फॉर्म ऑफ numbers. This data may be in the form of sentences, words, and the analysis of words and sentences is difficult. So most of the researchers try to select the quantitative approach instead of qualitative approach, क्योंकि इसमें थोड़ा सा ज्यादा मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी. बट फैक्चुअल चीजें अगर आपको लाना चाहते हैं तो then this approach is useful. Okay. If you want to generate new ideas for online teaching strategies, qualitative research design is used to explore exactly what teachers and students struggle with in remote classes. तो अगर ऐसी चीजें जानना चाहते हैं, कुछ नए आइडियाज जनरेट करना चाहते हैं जिससे ऑनलाइन टीचिंग इफेक्टिव हो, तो आपको फिर क्वालिटेटिव रिसर्च अप्रोच को फॉलो करना चाहिए. If you want to test the effectiveness of an online teaching method, and a quantitative approach is most suitable. So depending upon the nature of research, your research approach can be selected. Okay, you can select the research approach, qualitative and quantitative. Population and sampling method, not necessary to discuss. I think most of you may aware about it. Okay, population क्या होती है? जैसे सपोज लाके स्टूडेंट हैं, आप जानना चाहते हैं कि फार्मर्स को, हमारे इंडिया में फार्मर्स को लीगल सिस्टम के बारे में कितनी इंफॉर्मेशन है, कितना वो जानते हैं, whether they are aware about the legal system of India. तो आप क्या करेंगे? आप हिंदुस्तान कितना बड़ा है, सारे किसानों तक पहुंचेंगे आप? नॉट पॉसिबल. तो यू कैन सेलेक्ट योर पॉपुलेशन, यू कैन सेलेक्ट योर एरिया. पहले तो आप क्या करेंगे, एक स्टेट लेंगे, स्टेट में एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेंगे, डिस्ट्रिक्ट में कुछ तहसील लेंगे, तहसील में कुछ गांव लेंगे, और गांव में भी सारे लोगों को नहीं लेंगे, आप रैंडमली कुछ लोगों को सेलेक्ट कर लेंगे. तो दैट इज, it is not possible to collect the data from all the population. You need to select certain sample from the population. So population, if you are studying the effectiveness of online teaching, this is the example. In India, it would be very difficult to get a sample that is representative of all high school students in the country. Possibly नहीं. तो क्या करेंगे? To make the research more manageable and to draw more precise conclusion, you could focus on a narrower population. For example, 9th grade students in low income areas of New Delhi. So what we have done, एक तो हमने ग्रेड तय कर दिया 9th ग्रेड, फिर दूसरा हमने क्या कर दिया, लो इनकम फिर तीसरा क्या कर दिया, एक पर्टिकुलर टेरिटरी, दैट इज दिल्ली. तो दैट इज feasible, you can do it, otherwise it is not possible. तो आप जब अपनी फाइंडिंग्स कहेंगे तो कहेंगे कि ये जो है जो ऑनलाइन टीचिंग की जो बात करेंगे तो उसके कॉन्टेक्स्ट में करेंगे, बट यू कैन जनरलाइज योर फाइंडिंग्स टू अदर ग्रुप्स. जनरलाइज कर सकते हैं, बट एक लिमिटेशन डालनी होती है लास्ट में. We cannot generalize because the population which we have selected, the sample which we have selected is related to Delhi, residing in Delhi. So maybe the situation and condition in Chennai may be different. तो एक condition तो लगानी पड़ेगी, but we can generalize, okay, partially. So there are different methods of sampling, probability and non-probability. Probability means जैसे आप जितने भी ग्रुप बैठा है यहाँ पे, अब मैं कोई चीज यहाँ पे जो कोई मान लीजिए आपको कोई अवार्ड देना है या कुछ देना है, सबको इक्वल चांस मिलना चाहिए. दैट इज प्रोबेबिलिटी. सभी को चांस मिल सकता है. ऐसा मेथड मैं चूज करूं कि एनीवन कैन गेट द चांस. नॉन प्रोबेबिलिटी में पिक एंड चूज वाला ऑप्शन हो सकता है. ठीक है. तो सैंपल इज सेलेक्टेड यूजिंग रैंडम मेथड एंड सैंपल सेलेक्टेड इन नॉन रैंडम वे. रैंडमली कोई भी हम किसी को भी सेलेक्ट कर सकते हैं, लेकिन इसका मतलब ये नहीं है, वो कोई एक मेथड होना चाहिए. देयर मे बी अ स्लिप containing the name of each participants, put it into the box and mix together, and one slip may be pick out. So this is randomly. This is called random situation. There may be other method of random. उसमें हम बहुत सारा डिटेल में नहीं जाएंगे. Mainly used in quantitative research, used in both kind of research, qualitative and quantitative. Allows you to make strong statistical inferences about the population. Easier to achieve but more risk of research bias. तो जब हम जनरलाइज करते हैं तो फिर हमें रैंडम प्रोबेबिलिटी सैंपलिंग लेने की जरूरत होती है. ठीक है. नाउ द नेक्स्ट प्रोसीजर इज टू कलेक्ट डेटा, एंड देयर आर डिफरेंट strategies for collecting data, and data may be collected from the primary sources and the secondary sources. And in case of the primary sources, we have survey method, we have observation method. In some cases we need to observe, and in some cases we need to distribute the questionnaire and conduct the survey, and need to conduct the interviews also. Okay. So more common in quantitative research and more common in qualitative research. The difference between the interviews and questionnaires. मैंने बता दिया उसके क्या क्या प्रॉब्लम्स क्वेश्चनायर की हो सकती हैं और इंटरव्यूज के क्या क्या फायदे हो सकते हैं. अगर आपको डेप्थ में कुछ निकलवाना है, सही चीज को पता लगाना है, तो यू नीड टू इंटरेक्ट विद द पार्टिसिपेंट्स, विद द रिस्पोंडेंट्स, एंड ट्राई टू नोट डाउन समथिंग, या ट्राई टू रिकॉर्डिंग भी कर सकते हैं, या आप नोट डाउन भी कर सकते हैं, डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द टाइम, कितना आपके पास टाइम है. ठीक है. तो both the methods can be used, but in quantitative research, questionnaire is mostly used, and in case of qualitative research, the interviews are used. Then observation, sometimes we need observation, particularly in the field of science, in the lab, we try to observe the changes. Okay, so that is observation is required. And secondary sources of data, particularly in your field, law field, you need to rely on the secondary data. Okay. Secondary data means the court decisions of the court, cases. जब भी आप असाइनमेंट बनाते होंगे तो क्या करते हैं आप लोग? You need to collect the sources where the different decisions are discussed. Okay. So this is not first-hand information. They are secondary sources of information. Okay. That is quantitative data analysis. We have different strategy. For qualitative data analysis, we have different strategy. Okay, and there may be two types of data analysis methods, that is descriptive and inferential. Okay, so descriptive statistics means you can summarize your sample data in terms of distribution, that is frequency of each score on a test, central tendency to mean, that the mean to be described, that is average or score, and variability of data, that through the standards deviation, how much it is deviated. One sample or group is deviated from other sample group samples. Okay. So within the purview of this descriptive analysis, there is the distribution of data, central tendency, and variability through mean calculation and through standard deviation calculations. And inferential statistics means you are making generalization of your findings. Okay, you make estimates about the population based on your sample data. That is, you need to test the hypothesis. If you want to test the hypothesis, then you need to use inferential statistics or inferential statistics analysis methods. Okay, and there are different kinds of statistics. Regression and correlation test look for association between two or more variables. Comparison test, if you want to compare between two groups, or you want to compare between independent and dependent variables, then you need to apply t-test. If there are two groups, t-test. If are multiple groups, then you can use ANOVA. Okay. And the choice of a statistical test depends on various aspects of research design. So, कब कौन सा टेस्ट लगाना है, किस कंडीशन में कौन सा लगाना है. If there is a correlation, regression. If there is comparison between two groups, t-test. If there is a comparison between multiple groups, then ANOVA. And qualitative analysis is quite difficult, but now we have the software for qualitative analysis. There are certain software, and I just forget the name. InVivo something. If you are, InVivo is one of the reputed software which can handle the qualitative data. Okay, so instead of summing up it up in numbers, you will not need to comb through the data in detail. ठीक है, तो thematic भी कर सकते हैं analysis उसका. But as I mentioned that today we have the software. The thematic data or the qualitative data or the words or sentences which you collected from the respondents through interviews can be put it into the software, and you can analyze that data also because of the availability of such kinds of software. That the name of one software I mentioned, InVivo. Okay. And this is analysis, setting categories, not necessary to discuss. Now the final component is that is important is report writing and presentation of findings. So how much time I have now? 15 minutes. So I think I need to pay attention to the visibility and impact part. So but just I want to show the format of the research report. That is cover page, table of content, abstract, introduction, background to the study that we have discussed, methods, in the background literature review, and the methods, how the study was carried out, how data was analyzed. So this is not a standard format of report writing. The format may be different in different subjects, and the requirements of the format may be different in different journals. So as I mentioned that you need to follow the guidelines of the journal or guideline of the universities if you are submitting thesis, because the universities issued some guidelines how to prepare your thesis, what is the format of the thesis. So these guidelines are important to follow a particular standard. Okay, but a general formats of report writing is that is you need to provide a cover page. You need to give the table of content, what are the important points which are covered in the report, a brief abstract which highlights the nature of research, and introduction, background, methods, results, and discussion. So most of the researchers know how to write results, but discussion section is very difficult to write. And what is the meaning of discussion? Result तो आपको मालूम है, table बना दी, data को analyze कर दिया, interpret कर दिया. But what is discussion? You need to discuss your findings in the light of other researchers. ठीक है? So evaluation and discussion of result, comments on significant findings and implications might also include whether any initial hypothesis was supported or rejected, whether or not the findings meet the aims of the study, a comparison of your finding with other researchers, limitation, flaws, or problem in study design or method. So these are the points need to be included in the discussion section. And if you are submitting your research paper in a journal, and a reputed journal, one of the important comments you will receive from the reviewer, that please include the discussion section in your research paper, otherwise your paper will not be published. So this is a very important requirement today. So how to write a discussion, these are the important things that you need to include. At the end of the report, you need to include the conclusion, and conclusion doesn't mean that you are just summarizing your finding. Most of the times what we do, we try to summarize our finding in the conclusion. So conclusion is different. It should be not more than 2 or 3 paragraphs. Just conclude what are the important findings and how these findings are relevant to different stakeholders. आपकी findings से लोगों को, social society को या different stakeholders को क्या फायदा हो सकता है, आपकी findings की क्या कमियां हैं study की, और आने वाले वक्त में इस कमियों को दूर करने के लिए जो researcher हैं वो further research किस चीज पे कर सकते हैं. So these are the important points that you need to include in the conclusion. Otherwise, most of the time what we do, we try to summarize our findings in the conclusion section. This is not correct. So what are the important components of the conclusion? That is, summarize your findings briefly. Important findings. Try to give the value, how these findings are relevant to different stakeholders. What are the limitations? And what is the scope of further research? Direction for further research. So this may be included in the conclusion section, and at the end, what you include, that is references. That is, whatever you have quoted, consulted during your research need to be provided in the form of references. Okay. So this is referencing. मैं इसको छोड़ दूं, आपकी डिमांड हो तो इसको कर दूं, नहीं तो फिर इम्पैक्ट और विजिबिलिटी पे जाऊं, क्योंकि दोनों चीजें नहीं हो सकती. Okay. This is choose the right journals. Okay, so what is the method of selecting journals? And there may be different parameters, but the important parameters now available today with us. Selection of journal based on impact. अगर आप impact factor की बात करें, do you know what is impact factor? पहले तो ये पता होना चाहिए. ठीक है, impact factor means how many times a particular journal, the articles of the journals are cited. And the traditional meaning of impact factor is that is the journal which is included in the JCR, Journal Citation Report of Web of Science. Okay. But there are certain other methods which have been developed recently. They are Google Scholar Matrix and SciMago Matrix. Okay, so there are different other methods. So on the basis of impact, you can decide the journal. Another criteria is that is most of the journal publisher, provide a platform where you can put your title, abstract, and some of the text of your research into the boxes. And then they will provide a correct journal where you can submit the research. अब मेरे पास ये, इसको अगर हम क्लिक करेंगे तो हो सकता है वो उस प्लेटफॉर्म पे हम पहुंच जाएं, एल्सेवियर जर्नल फाइंडर. तो एल्सेवियर के जितने भी जर्नल्स हैं उसमें वो बता देगा कि कौन से जर्नल्स में आपको अपनी रिसर्च भेजनी चाहिए. बेस्ड ऑन द एनालिसिस ऑफ द कंटेंट, this platform suggests you the relevant journal. So there are different platforms provided by different publishers. So if you are, suppose you want to publish your paper in the Taylor and Francis journals, so you try to select the platform and then try to put some of the portions, and then this platform suggests you which is the most suitable journals as per the nature of your research. Okay, so this is basically abstract. यहाँ पे लिखा enter your abstract, not showing because this is connected to other platform. Okay, sorry. ये तो आपको शो नहीं करेगा वो. Okay, if you just click on these links, there's Elsevier Journal Finder and Springer Journal Suggester, Billy Journal Finder, or Taylor and Francis Journal Suggester. They will provide a platform just like Google box, where you need to enter the title, the abstract, and some of the text. Then on the basis of analysis of these text, the platform will suggest you the right journal where you can submit. Then after submission, what you need to do? You need to navigate the review process. And there may be different kinds of comments. Sometimes your articles may be rejected. Sometimes your article may be accepted with the condition of major revision or minor revision. Okay. So sometimes unconditional acceptance, conditional acceptance, that is major, minor revisions, major revisions, conditional rejection, outright rejections. So any kind of decisions of the journal can be communicated, okay, to you. And there may be different kinds of reasons of the rejections, maybe technical and maybe content issues, okay. And when you receive the comments, you need to respond to the reviewer's comment. 3 golden rules: answer completely, answer politely, answer with evidence. ठीक है, अब आप उसने कुछ भी पूछ लिया है तो आपको लग रहा है कि नहीं गलत पूछ लिया है, इसने गलत पूछा है, हमारे हिसाब से ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए. But you need to be polite, okay, in giving the answer to the reviewers. And this is one sample which is given here. Comment number and the reviewer comment. This sections contain grammatical errors. Authors का response क्या है? Thank you for drawing our attention to these errors. They have been corrected on page number 2 and 3. Okay. And we must remember reviews are advice. Okay. Sometimes if you think that this is not possible, politely write that this is not possible. Be respectful, be responsive, be polite. Okay. Now this is the final section of the topic, that is how to increase visibility and impact of your research. Okay. So there are different methods of the increasing visibility of the research, and visibility and impact are correlated. Something जैसे हम कहते हैं जो दिखता है वो बिकता है. This is simple formula. So if your research is visible, more visible, has the chance of its use, more use, and if it is most used, then it is a chance of more citation. So this is visibility and impact are correlated. Okay. So how we can increase the visibility? Get unique author identifier. हर author का एक unique ID होना चाहिए, जैसे हमारा आधार कार्ड है unique है. So there should be a unique researcher ID, and this unique researcher ID can be possible when you create a profile, or you can get the ORCID ID. Okay. So this is a platform where you can go. I just मैं show तो नहीं कर सकता because it is not connected together, but थोड़ा सा आपको idea दे सकता हूँ. दूसरा क्या हो सकता है? Open access mode of publication. There are 2 modes of publication. बल्कि 3 हैं, मतलब उनको 2 तरह से जानते हैं, open access and close access. If you are publishing in open access journals, obviously it is visible to all the people. And if you are not publishing in the open access journal, publishing in the subscription based journal, only those universities or a student or researcher can access where the subscription is available. Okay. तो open में जब publish करेंगे तो जाहिर सी बात है visibility ज़्यादा होगी. Share your outputs of research. आप share कर सकते हैं. There are different platforms for sharing your research. Create and keep up to date online profile. अपनी एक ऑनलाइन प्रोफाइल बनाइए. बहुत से प्लेटफॉर्म्स हैं जिसपे आप प्रोफाइल को क्रिएट कर सकते हैं और अपना सीवी, अपना वर्क जो है इस पे शोकेस कर सकते हैं. एंगेज इन सोशल नेटवर्किंग कम्युनिटीज. ठीक है, उस पे आप एंगेज रहिए, उस पे आप शेयर करिए. जो भी आपका बेस है, लिंक्डइन है, उस पे आप अपना शेयर करिए रिसर्च. ब्लॉग लिखिए और जो ट्विटर पे उसको ट्वीट करिए कि हाँ हमारा ये रिसर्च पब्लिश हुआ है. तो जाहिर सी बात है जितने लोगों का ग्रुप है, जितनी रीच है, तो वहां तक वो पहुंचेगा. तो दिस इज ORCID ID, and I cannot show because this is not connected with this platform. So you can just click on Google the ORCID, and then you can have the options of creating your own profile. Okay. This is an open access mode of publication. There are different modes: green open access, gold open access, and hybrid open access. So, but there are two important modes. Either you choose to publish your research in the open access journals, or if it is not chosen, then you can upload the preprint of your research into different platform. Okay, ResearchGate है, academia है, बहुत से platforms है. ठीक है, तो आप उसको publicly available कराएंगे. Share output of your research. There are different platforms. The examples are given. Archive. This is a preprint in physics, mathematics, computer science. Sites here: PubMed Central, Social Science Research Network. Some of the platforms known to you, I think. As well as you also share your research data. Whatever the data you have used in your research, this may also be shared. And some of the journals making it compulsory. Okay, they ask to share your data in a particular platform. And these are the different platforms where you can share your research data. Then you can create different profiles. Google Scholar profile, the Open Access Research Network पे आप प्रोफाइल क्रिएट कर सकते हैं. स्कोपस ऑथर प्रोफाइल क्रिएट कर सकते हैं. वेब ऑफ साइंस पे ऑथर प्रोफाइल क्रिएट कर सकते हैं. And there is a Vidwan ID you can create. And there are Kudos, which is a new service where you can showcase or promote your research output. So multiple platforms to be used for creating your research profiles and making your or showcasing your research on these profiles. Okay, and there are many researches which are conducted, and they have established the correlation between the multiple visibility or multiple platforms where the research is visible, getting the advantage of citation. कोई research 10-12 platform पे available है तो उसके citation ज़्यादा होते हैं. So it means you need to create your research profile, your profile at different platforms. Okay, and you need to engage with social networking communities by ResearchGate, Academia, LinkedIn, or Mendeley. So these platforms you can use to put your research and share your research with other researchers. You can write the features of your research in the form of blog, and you can also use the X platform that is formerly known as Twitter to popularize your research. So these are the different methods and strategies that to be adopted for enhancing the visibility of your research, and visibility is the ultimate cause of the increasing the impact of your research. Thank you. If anything, if you want to ask any question, anything which you have noted down during the whole presentation, you can ask.
Briefly explain the referencing.
Yes.
So could you briefly explain referencing?
Referencing is basically just I mentioned at the beginning. Academic writing is objective and evidence-based. So this evidence-based means that is something which you have consulted and included in your research that should be cited. पहला word होता है cited. And when you cited something in your research, then you need to give the reference of this citation. For example, आप कहते हैं according to Wikipedia. ठीक है? Then you want to include the idea which is given in the Wikipedia. वहां पे क्या लिखेंगे? Wikipedia in bracket and maybe the year 2023. This is called citation. You are citing Wikipedia in the text of your research, but at the end of the paper, you need to give the complete reference. That is Wikipedia, title of that article which is available on Wikipedia from where you have taken this particular note, and the URL. If you are citing a journal article, then give the complete detail, the name of the author, comma, year of publication in the citation, in the text of the article. At the end, you give the complete detail, author, title of the paper, name of the journal, year of the publication, volume number, issue number, page number, and at the end, you can give the DOI. Today, most of the journals ask to mention the DOI, and DOI is more important because it is a permanent link to that particular article. Earlier we use URL, but URL is not relevant today.